Cruise ship cruise of Reddit. What's it really like to work and live on a cruise ship? Upixelix had some great insights into what goes on below the decks on a cruise ship in a similar thread. Mortani, I'm a cruise ship worker. First one is, we don't want you to know that we actually have more fun than the guests. Sure, we'll work the big white hot party that you're all going to, but once we finish our shift all hell is breaking loose in the crew bar. More than just below and to the sides of where you are sleeping there are crew members having sex, smoking and drinking. Our beers are $1. No drugs or spirits though. More than we also don't want you to know that all those funny jokes we tell you at bingo, yeah, same ones are said every single cruise. That really funny answer you gave us about your wife during the happy couples game? Heard it. It was said last cruise and the one before that, and the one before that. More than we are not allowed to duck to passengers, but we do know all the nooks and crannies the cameras don't reach. More than there are morgues below deck and a jail cell. We get at least 3 deaths on board a month. Some people go on a cruise to die. More than no, I do not know where Jack Rose is. They're not real people. Transcribing for a family member who helped for 3 new cruise ships in Italy and then crewed one for about 9 months. The crew was basically divided in half. There was a huge group of Southeast Asians. Quite a few were even family members. They mostly stuck to themselves and did a lot of the manual labor style work. The second group was 18-30-year-olds from US, Canada, Australia, France, and England. The younger kids humped like rabbits and drank like fish. Most people would blow every paycheck going nuts at each port and drinking on the cruise ship. The older Southeast Asians very rarely drank and very rarely did much at port other than pick up some personal supplies. The rooms were pretty small and the vast majority of them were shared. The meals for the cruise was pretty bomb. And you could also eat drink anywhere you wanted on the ship as long as you were off your shift and not in your work clothes. It seemed as if the general consensus was it being a great experience for a short period of time. But it is not something you'd most likely enjoy for more than a few seasons unless that type of lifestyle appeals to you. Long working hours. Very small shared cabin with walls thinner than paper so you can hear everything your neighbors are doing. Crew food is bloody awful unless you like living on boiled rice. Crew bar is very cheap, but also full of creepy guys hitting on everyone and insanely gorgeous girls sneering at everyone. But none of that matters. In 5 years on cruise ships I literally traveled the world. I went to Europe, Canada, North, South and Central America including Alaska and Hawaii, Asia Incorporated, China, Japan and India, Africa. I basically visited every continent except Antarctica and went to over 75 countries. I took a sled dog ride in Alaska, whitewater rafting along a river through the jungles of Costa Rica, visited Alcatraz, had an authentic curry in Mumbai, spent a day on a luxury yacht sailing around the Caribbean, snorkeling at the Great Barrier Reef, visited the Great Pyramids in Egypt, been to the lost city of Petra, spent days in Barcelona, Athens, Rome, Kiev, and so much more. None of the bullet you have to put up with on board matters compared to that. You will never be alone. Relationships happen really fast. Your body clock changes. Grudges can fester. Everyone higher rank than you is an idiot. If you have a solo room then you might as well write a blank booty check. Everyone sleeps with everyone. The food for crew is nearly inedible. You will never find a free washer unless you camp out in the laundry room for a few hours. There are usually about 5 to 15 washers dryers, and anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500 crew members. The rooms are tiny, and your shower curtain will always be trying to get to know you biblically. US citizens aren't paid that well, but some countries, where the conversion rate is really good, make some serious bank. South Africa, especially, we do get to get off in port and go have a good time. Many ports have crew discounts for food and drink. However, most contracts last for around 6 to 8 months. So after a while, the same old ports every week start to really wear on you. There is a crew only bar, and beers are $1.50. Some ships have a crew only hot tub. That's all off the top of my head. Edit. I have a very long day of work ahead and cannot be on my phone. I'll come back and answer as many questions as I can in about 12 hours. Rippenbox. We had a saying every night is a Friday night and every morning is a Monday morning. Every day is Groundhog's Day. You have to take a somewhat intense physical before getting on board. This includes a drug test. Random drug tests also happen while on board. Moral of the story? If you want a cruise ship job, stop smoking weed 3 weeks ago. Not me personally, but a couple former co-workers did. One girl was a shopping guide. Pretty prestigious cruise job. She'd give presentations about portside shopping and recommend what shops to go to. This involved making partnerships with the local shops. Those recommendations are obviously very valuable to the show owners. So in exchange for them, she got to purchase designer clothing and jewelry at or below cost. Another girl had a somewhat less prestigious job. Can't remember exactly what. Either worked in the onboard shops or was part of the entertainment departments. What other people have said is pretty accurate according to her. Cramped quarters, cheap booze, debauchery but never with the passengers, long working hours, and a lot of boredom in between. One thing she did tell me is the cruise lines, the well-known ones anyway, are very anal about cleanliness. If there's even the hint of an aerovirus outbreak, it's all hands on deck and the entire ship is scrubbed down with disinfectant. But while the ship is clean, certain lines will sometimes cut corners when it comes to maintenance of the mechanical systems. Think the infamous poop cruise from a few years back. The best way I could describe it is this: work hard, play hard, work harder, play harder, die a little, and do that cycle for almost a year. If you don't find good friends and things to keep you occupied and happy, that isn't sleeping and drinking, you'll hate life in about 2 months. I enjoyed my time there. Don't wanna go back. But I had a ton of fun and loved the experience I got from it. Worked on a cruise ship for 3 years. Some key points. 1. If you're American, you are a minority. My ship had over 2,100 crew members, and only about 40 of us were American. You are seen as a rare, magical unicorn. 2. Fighting for an open washer or dryer in the laundry room is hell on earth. And whichever dildo put too much detergent in their machine every week, causing the laundry room to overflow. You are a soap terrorist and my soggy sneakers will never forgive you. 3. Food is provided, but the two most common ethnicities on my ship were the Philippines and India. So the crew cafeteria was usually full of food I wasn't used to, like pigtail stew and fish heads. I ate a lot of salad and mashed potatoes on my contracts. 4. Think of a time you did something embarrassing while drunk at a bar. Now imagine having to see every single person who saw you do that embarrassing drunk thing every day for months and months. That's what ship life is like. It was awesome, though. You travel for free, drink for cheap, and save a lot of money since you aren't really paying for anything unless you want to. I'd suggest it to anyone who has no strings attached and is willing to work hard for 6-8 months at a time. One of my friends plays in the cruise band. He said he practices like 1-2 hours a day and plays a show. Like 4 hours of real work. Then he just drinks at the crew bar and supposedly partakes in orgies or threesomes. He ducks the dancers. They're usually pretty hot from what I've seen. Also, he said there's no such thing as a dry country. You can find somewhere to drink in port, even in strict Islamic countries. You deal with 3 types of people: newlyweds, overfeds, and soon-to-be-deads. Worked as a dive instructor on a yacht cruise for a bit. Food depended on the chef. 1 week I lived off rice and the next I'd eat like a queen. Living conditions were hell. My cabin was a box with a mattress smaller than a standard single. The ceiling was so low I couldn't sit up on the mattress. No fan, no air conditioning, and just 20 centimeters on one side for me to store my stuff on. The crew were amazing though. Less than 10 per boat, so you always got washing machine access. Never too much of a queue for the bathroom. Great vibe. Pay was low, and the hours were long. But that's something that comes with this job. The reason I quit was the relationship between the crew and the guests. We were expected to be ghosts, and couldn't sit anywhere guests were, and would have to move if they wanted to come where we were sitting. I'd see them for their dives and not be acknowledged for the rest of the time except if they wanted something. It's degrading, to be honest, and a pain in the ass. Some days I'd be up at work for 3.45 and have to wait until 11 at night for the guests to leave the decks before I could fill the tanks. Most of my friends work for cruises. Since we work in technical theater production, it's an easy hire. Cruises are either a great way to save money or an awful one. Your lodging and food is paid for, and you're getting paid, so that's great. But cruises are boring. Sure, cheap booze and free travel is great for the first little while, but after a while, it becomes like Squidward in that episode where he finds his perfect down. So routine, so boring. Wi-Fi is usually anywhere from $5 a day to $10 an hour and there is no cell service. So, when you're not working, you're trying your best to find anything to do. So a lot of the time you'll start spending money on anything new, and then you're not saving or enjoying yourself. So there's little point. However, many people still enjoy the life of the routine and the travel, and figure ways around spending money. Just know, it's harder than you expect to be one of those people, but if you can be, it's a great opportunity. We got crammed in a tiny cabin with 3 other employees, but you have varying hours. So there's people coming and going when you're somewhat asleep but you worked hard, so you're tired and you might actually sleep. The engine noise tends to be helpful in that regard. Good opportunity to save some money. Great summer work for students. Gotta deal with the public well enough to keep smiling. Don't spend too much time talking about the guests, because we all have to get up and do it again the next day. Overall, it was great, lots of good people and amazing scenery. Things learned. Small ship cruise line that went to Alaska and Mexico circa 1997-ish. Totally depends on which country you come from. My wife and I met working on ships. She's Indonesian. Worked 10-month contracts without a day off. 12-14 hours a day. And made about $600 a month. Lived in a shared room. Ate food that was literally made from the scraps of what passengers didn't eat. Never had time to get off ship in port. I'm American. Worked 4-month contracts. Had a solo room. Usually worked about 6-10 hours a day. Ate with the passengers in the Lido. And made around $3,000 a month. Different roles. But the jobs all have nationalities. On our ships, bartenders were all Filipino except the crew and officers bartenders were Indonesian.